In this video, we're going to talk about 5 of the most common mistakes I see people making when they start their freelance design business. Now, of course, I'll provide you with some context for each issue and provide a solution that you can practically start doing tomorrow, if not today. So here's a brief overview of the 5 mistakes we're going to cover. Working without a contract, neglecting a proper design brief, overworking or burnout, poor portfolio work, and charging too low. Then towards the end, we'll have a brief discussion about what it looks like to gain freelance work through social media, because I know this can be a point of contention for some designers and perhaps a real struggle for others, since you not only have to figure out how to grow your business, but also your social media accounts. So if that's what you're most interested in, feel free to check out the timestamps down below to skip ahead. All right, the first mistake is working without a contract. Freelancers should always protect themselves with a contract outlining project details, payment terms, and timelines. A contract protects your rights, establishes professionalism, and prevents disputes that might happen based on due dates or deliverables or even price. With a contract, you can factor in and protect yourself from a lot of issues that clients might take advantage of without one. And contracts don't have to be a printed and signed document. You can easily set one up digitally through your website or through payment services like Square or Stripe, or through a DocuSign style website that will electronically send it to the client to sign digitally. There are also a lot of basic freelancing contract templates you can get started with online to customize them to your own liking. Mistake number 2 is neglecting the importance of a good brief. Designers should always gather a detailed brief from clients before starting a project. A comprehensive brief prevents miscommunications and ensures client satisfaction. Our advice is to get as specific as possible with your client and keep vague words to a minimum. For example, you might understand that the client wants a logo design, but there's a lot of history and research that needs to be done in order to make the best mark possible, and the client may use words like clean or minimal, fresh or exciting, which could mean completely different things to you than they do to them. So try to narrow down these terms and ask for examples, references, and even asking what they don't like. Along these same lines, make sure that the client provides reasoning for why they need a new logo and what they hope to accomplish with a new mark. Mistake number 3 is overworking and burning out. Perhaps one of the biggest creative issues is ignoring breaks and pushing yourself too hard. This leads to creative fatigue, reduced productivity, and sometimes health issues. To avoid this, you need to prioritize your self-care, set realistic deadlines, and maintain a healthy work-life balance for sustained creativity. It can be tempting, I know, to take any and every job, especially when you're first starting out, but that might actually be counterproductive to your business goals. Try only to take a few jobs at a time with a fair amount of due date space so that you can properly manage your tasks. Mistake number 4 is poor portfolio work, or just not updating your portfolio in general. You need to regularly update your portfolio to showcase your evolving skills and your style. Clients are seeking fresh examples of work, and so when you add new projects that demonstrate your ability, it attracts more opportunities. The temptation can be to only show 2 or 3 pieces of your work, or to bombard your portfolio with a ton of work that's scattered and doesn't really look connected. Our advice would be to showcase at least 8 to 10 updated pieces that clearly represent what you want to do and what you're capable of. If that's logo designs, then show those. Or if it's poster designs, show those instead. Try providing a case study or 2 where applicable, where you can describe a project from start to finish and how it helped the client through your design. Number 5 is charging too low. The most critical error in starting a freelance business is not charging enough. Setting fair prices is crucial for sustainable freelance careers, and you should be paid the value of your work. You need to conduct market research, establish competitive rates, and then educate your clients on the value of your work to build long-lasting, mutual beneficial relationships. The more you're able to directly correlate a client's success with your work, the conversation about price becomes way more natural to you. Now I want to talk about what it looks like to post your design work on social media and how you might gain new clients or commissions through social media. I'm going to talk about TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and Twitter, and I'll do my best to explain why these platforms are important, and then we'll end with a talk about the age-old question, how do I get views and how do I get followers? I'm also not really going to talk about Facebook because that's pretty much just Instagram after the fact. So I think it's a pretty common phrase to hear influencers or content creators say, if you're not posting on social media, then your clients can't find you. And I'm not suggesting that this advice is wrong, but far too often often these very successful creators aren't really backing up that statement with a practical way for you to grow your social account. Social media has really evolved in just the past 3 years or so, let alone the last year. So what might have worked for those artists and designers several years ago, unfortunately won't really work across the board for you now. If you couldn't tell already, what works on one social media app doesn't necessarily translate well to another one, except maybe for video content, and even then it has to be a very specific style of video content that is relevant to that app. Alright, so what do we do about this? Do we treat social media like part of our portfolio? We've talked before about how having an updated and nuanced portfolio is a good thing and how it has a direct impact on whether a client might choose you to work with over someone else. So having a Behance, a Dribbble, a website, or some other gallery is great, and you should definitely nurture those every few months or so. I was personally really surprised at how many views my own Behance page got just after a week or so with only 3 or 4 projects. But even though my own Behance was getting views, I've still never had a project come directly from my portfolio. It's possible that this might work and work may come from there, but the client is probably looking for additional proof or expertise before contacting you. Now onto the social side of things, depending on your niche and your design style, social media will often be your client's first introduction to you and your work. Now the words you and your work is important here because we can't forget these are social apps, not just glorified portfolios. Posting on apps like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are perfect for visually showcasing your work either through image or video. The reason this is so powerful is because you can give emotion to your work that you wouldn't do on a portfolio or website. In addition to video on both TikTok and YouTube, you can post image carousels with various parts of design projects that you've done, which can act as a mini case study. On YouTube, you can easily stitch together those images in a video editor to seamlessly transition them for a YouTube short. Or maybe you take a leap and actually record a short video just talking through one of your recent projects, showing pictures, explaining deliverables, and ultimately how it helped the client. Of course, make sure the client is comfortable with their work being shown, but even if you have a new or small YouTube channel, you have more to share with potential clients in the future. This shows more of an emotional connection between you and your work, which then shows clients you are passionate about this work. Posting on Pinterest is another excellent way to get in front of new clients as well. There are so many people constantly saving pins and making boards for various projects or ideas. You want to think about what part of your work can be shared on Pinterest so that it stands out when potential clients type in keywords relevant to your niche. For example, you might specialize in eco-friendly and nature brand logo design. So when someone is typing in eco-friendly logos or nature logos or nature preservation design, what are they gonna see? Is there work of yours that can show up when they type in words just like that? And this formula pretty much works for any style or niche or product, so go through this exercise and figure out what will be best for you to post. Using X, formerly Twitter, is a great place to post multiple kinds of content. You can of course post images, you can post videos or links to videos. You can also give business specific tips that might attract your ideal client. You could also post about why the kind of work you do is important, or perhaps think of relevant ways to talk about the news in your desired industry. X has always been a place for updates, so quick, easily readable text posts that instantly give the viewer immediate gratification or education when they finish reading it is a good thing. Probably one of the most effective ways to use X is to start a thread or debate on a specific topic. And I mean a civil debate about design or a niche, not something offensive. For example, I know for the longest time Mac versus PC has been a large debate, probably still is, where people just can't help but give their opinion on why you should use a certain computer. So how does something like that fit into your topic or your niche that people would want to comment on? Alright, so we've talked about the different social media platforms and why each one of them can be valuable for you. And now you're wondering, well, how do I get views on my posts or my reels, or how do I gain followers on my account? And I've waited to talk about audience and demographics until now because I think this is the most important thing to think about when you are posting the types of content on each platform. Understanding where an audience is viewing your content is the key to getting views. It's actually pretty simple, and I'm not sure why people don't talk through or think through this enough before just posting whatever they want on any platform. So let's think about these statistics real quick and start to factor this into who your target audience is. 42% of TikTok users are between the ages 18 and 24. There are certainly younger viewers than that, but they can't really make business decisions, so this makes up the percentage of viewers who are obviously making the most purchases purchasing decisions on TikTok. If we look at Instagram, 35% of users are between ages 24 and 34, with the next percentage of users at 29%, which is 18 to 24. So already we see an age gap from TikTok to Instagram, and this is certainly where I belong within that threshold, and I can confirm as someone in their 30s, I spend way more time on Instagram than TikTok. I'm personally way more willing to purchase something from an ad, follow someone I like, or inquire about a service on Instagram before ever going and doing that on TikTok. 40% of users on Pinterest are between the ages 25 and 34. I also fall within this threshold and spend a fair amount of time on Pinterest collecting ideas, getting inspiration, and seeing if anything I click on is actually for sale. Now here's where it gets crazy. 40% of users on X are between ages 25 and 34, with the next highest percentage being 21%, ages 35 to 50. That's a combined 61% of X being 25 to 50 years old. I personally don't care for X that much, but I understand how powerful it can be because it's more of a quick blog or a mini newsletter style where a lot of people honestly get their news, especially in that older bracket. Again, we can keep using me as a case study here, and I'm part of that generation that wants things to be more visual, more hands-on, and that fits the Instagram and YouTube style and not so much the X or LinkedIn examples. And now this shouldn't be a surprise to you, but YouTube is undoubtedly the most popular social platform, with over 80% of adults just within the US saying they use YouTube daily, and that's ages 18 to 55. How often do you search something on Google and a YouTube video actually pops up answering your question instead of a link to a page? So understanding these different age groups across social platforms is what will help you craft a plan for posting the right content to get in front of the right people. If you're creating logos and branding for wedding photographers between the ages of 23 and 34, I think Instagram and YouTube are probably your best bet. Instagram perfectly meets that threshold, and YouTube would be a perfect place to post some content because what are photographers always doing on YouTube? They're looking for ways to edit photos, they're looking at camera gear tutorials, stuff like that, so you can get in on those key terms and show up in front of that audience. If you're offering brand consulting for companies that value environmental preservation or organic sustainability, well, I'd say probably X and YouTube would be your main two social apps to be posting on. If you're starting a streetwear brand or offering design services for clothing brands, probably TikTok and Instagram are your best places to start. The point is, really think about your target audience before starting to post the same exact content across all social platforms. I like to generally keep this rule in mind as well, and that's if you chase 5 rabbits at once, you won't catch any of them. So the best advice that I can give you is to figure out which social app can be your main priority and then sprinkle in the other ones, trying out new content styles that are relevant to the platform. If you do this, as you are intentionally speaking to your intended audience, you will see a massive increase in success to not only gaining a following, but getting more work, because you have to ask yourself what's more important, getting that next freelance job or growing a ton of followers. One doesn't necessarily mean the other. If you're intentional with your audience, then there is a percentage that is searching and willing to engage with you for your services. So I think that's enough of a primer for now, especially if you're just starting the social media game. Of course, there are many tactics and tools to utilize in order to get more views and stuff like that, but you need to remember that posting will always be better than not posting. You need to start with some form of consistency so you know what to do to get better. If you do want to dig deeper into tactics and content creation ideas, let me know down in the comments, and I will have some guests come onto the channel to talk about their success on social. And we can also put together some videos on step-by-step processes for showcasing your work on each platform. So if that sounds like it would be helpful to you, please let me know down in the comments. The 3 things I need you to do before heading out are: 1, like this video if you found it helpful; 2, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any content like this; and 3, share it with someone that you think will benefit from this information. That really helps us out a ton and continues to help us build a community that cares about graphic design, and it helps designers become successful. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.